that's the thing. Well, I guess how for the reading tomorrow. So how
Oh yeah.
Okay. You'd be surprised how many times I like get out and there's like a note, and I'm like.
But I can also, if you like, that's something I can just give a heads up. I mean, I think she asked about projection and light in terms of how you want to.
Like it's always lit, but like every so often I'll get up and it's like there's shadows and it's like literally right across like where the cards are, and then I'm like struggling. I really like misread my notes. So.
Thank you for saying that. I'll do a little light
Investigation
investigation before you get there. I think that sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Really nice. Ooh. That was special. Oh, look at that. That's gonna look good.
Right here, maybe?
I think so. Do you need a tripod or something?
Maybe a child climber. Do you think boy?
I don't want children.
How
How about that? I have you. Is that too low?
Let me see, Carmen.
I have to.
Why don't I hold?
Older. No, you're not.
I'm not
Wait,
sure.
yeah, we
And
have
then
this
you
conversation.
too, because you're also an AV expert.
Something like that, I guess. I think we want it to be a little closer. Okay.
Or
lift it up.
Perhaps a table or something here, if we have one.
Well, you know what we do have is a music stand. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, at least we discovered that we have that. Hello. Everybody's here.
Hello, my lovely tech guy.
I'm mostly here just to make sure the camera's working.
Oh, nice.
That'd be great. It's looking good. And then it gets art. Yeah, now we're talking.
Maybe tilt it up a bit. There we go. There we go. Now that's a lecture right there.
All right, I should maybe remind people to silence their phones. I just did it, so if somebody's phone goes off, it's not me.
My mom had a
I'm not silencing because I got
Thank you so much, Phil, for coming in, for
So
helping
now I get
us
to
out.
pay for an apple.
And I need to just cancel tomorrow because Carmen isn't going to need any time. No need for anybody to come.
You don't need to leave anything here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
what
great.
that we're using there.
I don't think so. I'll double check with it, but I don't think so because this
Sure.
is our last kind of event like this.
Yeah, no, I was
Here
like,
on
oh, okay.
The big
I was
event
like, oh, that's
tomorrow,
really
so
nice. And she's like,
I think we're
yeah,
good.
we'll just put it on your plan. I was like, I'll pay the down payment.
Yes, if you do
Wow.
want to like.
What if I did $40 a month? And I was
Yeah,
like,
how
if you
should
wanna-
this come back
Oh, I
to
guess
you?
I can.
Because what time is the library closed?
you've already bought it.
That's a good question.
Here we are.
Maybe.
Sent it to
All right,
my
so then
What kind is it?
they'll
It
be
is
able to get
whatever
it back
the
to you.
newest
Because that's
Apple.
the thing. Make sure all this beautiful equipment, expensive equipment returns to its home. That's what we want. So yeah.
I don't.
All right, cool. Thank you so
Let's-
much. And I'll make sure that NK knows.
This is the.
And I'm looking at my
This
time.
is the
4
Apple
minutes.
Watch.
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
I don't
4
know
minutes.
what any of that
I see my
means.
colleagues and stuff I know are coming here. They're just lollygagging.
Caribbean.
Lollygagging. I'm not sure Caribbean is coming tonight. I know for sure Caribbean will be there tomorrow. So we're about to find out.
Oh, Brian's introducing.
Yes, Brian is definitely going to be here.
I'm excited
The
to.
one and only Brian Evanson.
Hi,
You said your
Brian.
name, and then there you are.
That's, yeah, you have to say
That's how
three
it
times.
goes. And there, Dr. Evanson and Dr. Leonard.
Is your office flooded again, Brian?
We moved you around today.
Exciting.
But that's,
I wish you had a class. Yeah.
okay, but I'm going to get better boss than that.
The theater still has this one class scheduled from 2 to 4. And it's like, you're the only class in the entire building that's not one.
Finally.
You're the only one.
They love to know.
That's in group.
I would love those now.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Feeling excited for the new year? Season of writing?
Fire horse.
Okay, last year at this time was kind of intense, so. Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Hush has fallen on the room. So I wanted to show you what I did, just in case. It's basically, who am I? Where are we?
Did you get through all your books?
I've done that before. That sounds
Muriel, right, yes, oh my gosh.
Oh, amazing.
Trying to decide things.
I did just do that.
Thank you, I'm so
We
excited
have-
to be here. We have
just
such a great
switch things.
I have a Nintendo DS.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have a DS.
Yes,
Like,
great.
yeah, I love the DS. I got a DS, and then
Oh, I love
I
that.
really
Kyle's really
Oh, yeah.
good. We were talking about
Are these
this.
great?
This is really super.
And the weather is incredible. So cold.
Guys, I love feeling
It's so cold out right now. And like I said,
I've never heard that. I've just
never.
I don't think she's played like any other.
Well, that might be why.
We had, like, I had a DS when I first.
Okay, so I really lucked out.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna start in about 4 minutes. Thank you for, get yourself, get your notebook out, get your writing implement, turn off your phone, get nestled in your seats. Very soon. It's about to start. Brian said that I need to give people a couple more minutes. Just, keep it soft, keep it easy. Even though I'm not that soft.
I know.
Oh.
I just started.
It's a new year,
Having
so
so
why not try something new, you know?
Very whirlwind
There.
for me.
It's one of my favorites from last year.
Mid-90s, take it on Simon, and then I'll be done.
Got it.
Put it away. Get back to it. I still haven't been blueprints either, so if they want my 25 to do it. You play blueprints?
Oh, yes, the puzzle game. Yeah. Well, yeah, last year I did blueprints, both Death Strandings,
Okay.
and oh, I guess I did.
That was too.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I know it came out Tuesday, so I did not
I
resign.
played that one, was not.
So bad.
fan of it.
I was like, this is not.
I'm kind of like too big of a Silent Hill fan to give it a shot.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You really high bar past the days of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in the game not set in stone. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I liked it more if it was called like Machado or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
I would have liked that.
Where did you stand on like the P2 6 baby?
Whoa, the world is like.
Oh, in Death Stranding?
Yeah.
I have not played Death Stranding 2.
Oh.
I've only played the first one, and I kind of bounced off the first one.
Oh, really? You know, I did the first time too, and then I went back to it another time. And it was like the way I handled my stress last year, like all of my.
Okay.
Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you.
No, I had like a gaming laptop that was at the time of his death about 10 years old, but it was fine with like, every Final Fantasy, et cetera. Did not love the Sims. Which should be
Sure. Do you want to do it? Do you want to do it now? Like, do you want to do it like in front of the, or like
You
somewhere?
know what should we do it here, and then it's also.
I was gonna say, if you're here and I'm here and I'm putting this
Yeah. All right.
Oh, you want to sit? Oh, great. I love
I know,
having to
but-
move.
No, then we can show off your really rad shoes, and we could be like Siskel and Ebert or Lee.
Oh, right, exactly.
And we'd be like,
I think it is.
Kind of like academic objective photo, right?
sexy bride.
It's weird to be.
You know, I have this thing where I always make faces when I take a picture, and then when I look at the picture, I'm always like, why did I do that? So that's my truth. That's my reality.
But that's, you know what? Oh my God, of course.
One of the best things about doing a theater program here.
Oh, in fact, let's get
this.
this.
To do AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Also have a PC for me.
Yep.
Well, maybe I don't need to actually.
No, I'm learning how to use whatever it's called, the screenwriting software.
Because I just
Yeah.
hold it in my hand.
I like it.
Or Highland.
But
That probably makes
I
sense.
like it.
Yeah.
I
I've had it for years.
people were like, it's not intuitive. I'm like, it's the most intuitive piece of writing software. Everyone was like, no, it's like a learning thing. And I was like, and then so I kept thinking, I was like, is there like a secret worse? Like I was like, what did I do wrong?
I think it works great.
No, and I was like, oh, it's just
I've had issues with the collaboration like features on it. It's like I worked on a thing with a writing partner once where it's supposed to be able to bounce things back and
Yeah.
forth, and that doesn't work great.
I don't think that many.
Google Doc works better.
Yeah,
But as far as formatting goes,
It's
super,
beautiful.
super easy. I'd also recommend checking out Highland. It's either Highland or Fountain. One of them is a scripting language, and one of them is the program. But it's John August, the head guy that runs it. And it's a great way to type screenplays in.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Gabrielle Seville, and I am your brand spanking new director of the arts. I'm so thrilled that we made it to 2026.
Well,
Let's see what we have in store. Okay, friends, first question. Whose land are we on?
Tonga people's land.
Close by. Anyone remember? This very specific patch of land that we're on right now.
Not Walt Disney.
In fact, no. And I'm so glad that actually this gives me an opportunity to acknowledge and remind us that the CalArts main campus sits on the unceded ancestral lands of the Chagwa Bayatam, the people of Chagwayanga, whose present-day descendants are citizens of the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. They have been here for millennia and will forever call this place home. Through meaningful partnership and collaboration, and actually the writing of this acknowledgement was a collaboration with members of this group, CalArts is committed to lifting up their stories, culture, and community. This evening on this land, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2026 Katie Jacobson Lecture. This event is part of a residency that honors beloved creative writing MFA alum Katie Jacobson, class of 2010. Thanks to the generous support of Katie's family, the CalArts Creative Writing Program can celebrate Katie's memory each year by bringing a writer of great influence to inspire students. This year's Katie Jacobson Writer-in-Residence is Carmen Maria Machado. This evening, Carmen is delivering a lecture entitled The Florilegium and the Wunderkammer, the transformative practice of self-harvest. This lecture is aligned with this winter session's theme of gleaning. Tomorrow, Carmen will be reading at the Red Cat Theater in downtown Los Angeles at 8 p.m. The reading will be live, but it will also be live streamed. For those of you, I'm holding this right now, so those who are live streaming this particular lecture can hear me. And so know if you're interested in live streaming that, just check out the Red Cat website for more details. Again, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Today and tomorrow, Carmen is offering a craft session with CalArts Creative Writing MFA students on the topic of speculative nonfiction, a very CalArts topic. I feel already you are one of us. I would like to express sincere thanks to the Jacobson family for their generous support of this program. Can we please give the Jacobsons a round of applause? Now, to offer a more robust introduction to Carmen Maria Machado, I'd like to now invite our very own MFA faculty member, Brian Evanson, to the stage. Brian is a fiction writer, great influence himself, and will say a few words about Machado's practice and with the line that's in line with that program.
I'm going to hold this very tiny microphone. Sorry about this. Yep. So I want to welcome you here as well. The Katie Jacobson Writer-in-Residence program, as Gabrielle mentioned, honors CalArts Creative Writing MFA alum Katie Jacobson and her commitment to public literary engagement in Los Angeles. Some of us here tonight, including faculty in the Creative Writing MFA, had the pleasure of reading in events curated by Katie when she was still with us, and all of us are very pleased to welcome tonight's reader in her name. Carmen Maria Machado is the author of 2 books, the story collection Her Body and Other Parties, and the best-selling memoir In the Dream House. Her Body and Other Parties was a finalist in the fiction category for the 2017 National Book Award. It won the National Book Critics Circle Best First Book Prize, the Lambda Literary Award, the Bisexual Book Award, the Shirley Jackson Award, the IAFA Crawford Fantasy Award, and was a winner or finalist for a number of other prizes that I'm not going to mention here. Jeff Vandermeer called it strong, dangerous, and blisteringly honest, and Alexander Kleeman called it touching and terrifying. Her Body and Other Parties, said Alyssa Nutting, will delight you, hurt you, and astonish you, as only the smartest literature can. It was identified by the New York Times as one of 15, quote, remarkable books by women that are shaping the way we read and write fiction in the 21st century. In short, people liked it. One thing I like about it is how irreverent it is, how it refuses to stay within the lines of one genre. The stories are, generally speaking, fantastical, but they're fantastical in different ways, sometimes veering into horror or fairy tale, other times into science fiction, other times still just a hair away from psychological realism. There's a novella inspired by Law and Order, which formally structures itself around episodes of that show, though the narrative gets weirder and weirder as it goes along. Or there's a beautifully odd ghost story in which dresses and dead girls become curiously interconnected. Taken as a whole, the stories are meticulously constructed and carefully chosen, the collection very powerful indeed. Carmen's second book, In the Dream House, won, among other awards, the Bisexual Book Award, the Lambda Literary Award, the Judy Grant Award from Publishing Triangle. It was a Time Magazine Best Book of 2019 and received starred reviews in Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, and Book Lists. Lillian Fadiman called it unflinchingly honest, and Alex Marzano Lesnovich sees it as, quote, breathtakingly inventive and urgently true, a crucial queer testimony, unquote. It's a memoir of a relationship that has become awful and the study of psychological manipulation of Carmen by another woman. It's written in short chapters, each of which take on a different conceit about what the book In the Dream House actually is. There's a chapter called, for instance, Dream House's Epiphany, or one called Dream House's Cosmic Horror, or one called Dream House's Choose Your Own Adventure, which takes on that particular form. Throughout the text, Carmen experiments with form as a way of processing and challenging and surviving what she has been through. It's a powerful, quirky, and moving book. Carmen is a writer of gorgeous sentences, but also someone with a serious love of story. As you read her fiction and prose in general, you feel how she's actively responding to the long tradition of writers and tales that have come before her. For Carmen to write is to enter into a conversation, not only with the reader, but with other stories, with other modes of prose, and with other ways of structuring narrative, with the possibilities of genre and with language itself. She's not so much interested in what a particular type of prose should do as she is interested in what it can do, which for me makes her a perfect choice as a visitor for CalArts. Please join me in welcoming Carmen Maria Machado.
Thank you so much. I'm going to clip this to myself. So that's it. Hello, can you hear me in the back? Yes. Excellent, wonderful. Okay, so today I'm delivering a lecture via PowerPoint, which I've never done before. I have spent the last month learning how to make a PowerPoint. And my partner tried to help me. It's the whole thing. So this is anyway, thank you for letting me experiment on you. So the Floridium and the Wondercom are the transformative practice of self-harvest. So when I was told this was the theme of the winter session, and I was like, they were like, you can do a lecture around that theme, but you don't have to. I was like, actually, gleaning is like a perfect thing. Like it's actually a way I think about idea sort of harvesting. And so it actually worked out really beautifully, and I felt inspired to do this. Okay, we shall begin. So, when I was a kid, one of my favorite books in the world was The Mysteries of Harrisburg by Chris Van Allsburg, who also wrote Jumanji. Has anyone read this book? One person, two, a couple people. Okay. You should all, after this guy, all down to get it. It's really good. So the premise of the book, the frame story, is that a mysterious man brings the book's illustrations to an editor and says, I want to publish these stories. Let me know what you think. I'll come back and I'll give you the full stories, and then never returns. And so each story in the book is composed of 3 parts: an illustration, a title, and 1 sentence. And that's the whole thing. So every page is like this, and they're unrelated to each other. Ask any creative, writer, visual artist, composer, and they will tell you the most common question they receive is, where do you get your ideas? That's me. When we're children, we play. Objects come to life. Genres are matched together and transcended. Impeccable fashion sense. Story is fluid, intuitive, exuberant. I love Star Trek: The Next Generation, so I'm Geordi. I'm wearing a band across my face to be Geordi. Many people, maybe even most people, lose that sense of play. When that universal instinct is not nurtured, it is lost. Now, we're obviously in a room full of artists, so like you're here because you kept nurturing that, but a lot of people, they lose it. It's very sad. But with care and attention, it can be restored or strengthened, and I'm going to talk about how. Oh no, I just realized, sorry, the numbers are out of order. This is part 2, it's not part 1. I moved them out earlier and I forgot. I'm realizing as I'm giving you this talk that I mixed them up anyway. They're not in order. So part 1, honor your forebears. Read, read, read. So the archive of the minds of the artists who came before you is all around you. The record of their attention is literally in your hands. Their humanity is being offered up to you. So I'm going to give you some quotes from some authors in various eras, and I want us to raise our hands if you're like, I have felt this feeling. Okay. I'm tired. My tiredness comes often because I'm an extremely busy person. I look after the world. Where's the specter, right? That one is like, it hit me, moved me. And as he was capable of great joy, so did he harbor huge sorrows that when his dog died, the world ended. People love talking of their diseases, though they are the most uninteresting things. The heaven tree of stars hung with humid night blue fruit. It was a fine cry, loud and long, but had no bottom and had no top, just circles and circles of sorrow. I wish I were a girl again, half savage and hardy and free. How characteristic of your perverse heart that longs only for what happens to be out of reach. And bed, he thought, bed is my friend. Bed will be a great thing. It is easy when you are beaten. He thought, I never knew how easy it was. Woo, okay. I cannot make you understand. I cannot make anyone understand what is happening inside of me. I cannot even explain it to myself. I may not have been sure about what really did interest me, but I was absolutely sure about what did. With everything in me screaming no, yet the some of me sighed yes. They were so close to each other that they preferred death to separation. Sort of sit with that for a moment. I looked up so many of these, and this is my favorite.
There's more than one.
There's a million of them. There's like, I found there's like hundreds of them. It was like a thing, and like the 90s, people just made these posters. So it's like every celebrity you can possibly imagine made a poster like
Wait,
this.
but like not one more of like Nicolas Cage, like a whole series of.
No. They're all like celebrities. So it's like there's like a Orlando Bloom. I had the Orlando Bloom one in college. He's in Lord of the Rings, and I really love Orlando Bloom from Lord of the Rings because I'm gay, and so so he has the read. So yeah, it's just like celebrities with the read posters, and there's also like so it's sort of like how they got milk. There were like a million of those. There's like a million of the read posters. Okay, you must. Ask Nicolas Cage. You've got to read. Look at it. I'm telling you. Vociferously, promiscuously, with intention. Read outside of your comfort zone. Read genres that are unfamiliar to you. This is a big one. Read work written before you were born. Read work in translation. Underline or otherwise note sentences, images, phrases, and words that strike you. Annotate. It's really important. Even if it's a library book, you can do Post-it notes and just save the Post-it notes. Look up words you don't know. This is a big one. I have a whole living document on my computer that's words that if I encounter a word I don't know, I look it up, and if I like it, I stick it in my document and I try to use it in something. The one I learned that's my favorite so far is cephalophore, which is a saint that's carrying its own head, like it's a decapitated head. It's like, I didn't know there was a word for that, and there is. You don't have to like everything you read, and you in fact almost certainly won't. It's very normal. But regardless of if you like it or not, you can always ask yourself 3 key questions. What does it seem like the author's goals or intentions were with this work? What tools and techniques did the author use to try and achieve that goal? And what can you learn from this, whether it's a failure or success in your eyes? So like when I have classes, my students sometimes will be like, I'll be like, what do you think of this? And they'll be like, I liked it or I didn't like it. And it's like, actually, it actually isn't really the question I'm asking. Like you can like it or not like it, but like, what does this demonstrate to us? What can we learn from it? This is how you develop a personal, I love this book, the Doubting St. Thomas. It's so like visceral, because finger right? This is how, right? This is how you begin to develop a personal canon. The texts live inside of you, whether you like them or not, and become a part of your practice. They become a part of you forever. Every book you've ever read, everything you've ever read since you first read is inside of you, and it's part of that canon. Okay, this is actually part 2, but I just ignore it. Anyway. Part 1, part 2. Honor your senses, pay attention. You are a sensory creature. At every moment, you are taking in a cornucopia of sights, sounds, smells, and sensations. We're gonna go through a few. I want us to kind of like try to like lean into the feeling that each of these images and sounds are gonna give you. This is the sound of a dog lapping water from a bowl in the middle of the night. A dog out in the park. I just adopted 2 dogs. That's all dogs. And I realized I could show them to you and you could have to look at them. So these are my 2 dogs from in person. They got haircuts a few days ago. They look good. That feeling when you stub your toe in the dark. The horrible, horrible feeling. I tried to play that Family Guy video where he like falls and goes, but I couldn't figure out how to download it. So that's what I was imagining. But you know that feeling, it's horrible. Anyway. That feeling right before you throw up. Yeah. Anyone's seen Bridesmaids? This is okay. Yeah, she stopped. Try to find a picture for like that smell when like onions is in butter and oil, like that smell. So that's my spiritual how good that smells. And then when it burns,
Oh,
good old beaker. Just being sick, like having a fever, just won't go away. I just feel like it loops my spine. That's how I know I'm getting sick, because I feel like something is like looping around my spine. That's like how fever like presents in my body. I don't know if that's universal or if that's just me. That's always how I feel it. That's how I feel about it. Also, they're snoring again. So the sensations can be good and bad, or neutral. They can be internal or external. They can be universal or highly specific. But you have to pay attention to them. You have to be attuned to yourself and the world around you. And I think this becomes hard, especially, I mean, I even notice like my attention being pulled by technology, notifications, like just the way, I mean, I think we're just being trained sort of every day to like not be in our bodies and not pay attention to what's going on around us. And I feel like one of the hardest things for me about COVID was like, normally it was like, even just riding the trolley to therapy or like going to the grocery store was like a sensory experience that I suddenly was not able to, have. And it was like a really intense, it actually felt very like, some part of my practice has been like stripped away from me. And so we have to always try to return to it. So I want us for a moment just to close our eyes and take stock of our bodies, just in this moment. Part 3, honor your life, live with curiosity. We are surrounded by beauty and terror and mystery. It is very easy, especially in a world like ours, to become insensate to everything around us. I love this sexy cabbage. There are a few ways that I've found can help me move towards that beauty and that terror and that mystery. When something strikes me in a good way or a bad way, I pause and pay attention to it. Then I ask myself a series of questions. Why am I drawn to this thing? What part of my consciousness does it prick? Why does it please or disconcert me? This is an installation. She's actually giving birth. I don't know if you can tell kind of in the back. There's like a whole creature kind of coming out of her. It's like an artist did this installation. Beautiful. When there is mystery, I move towards it. How did that happen? What does it mean and why? This is Judith Slang her off. This is one of my favorite paintings. You might find yourself becoming hyper aware of everything around you, and that's good. It means it's working. When you're allowing that sensation, discomfort, or pleasure to sort of enter your body. You also might find yourself uncovering powerful memories that your mind has sent away. The more you pay attention to these details, the more you will find you can access rooms in yourself that were closed, that you didn't even know were closed. You will begin to discover patterns of attraction and repulsion. This is an artist who makes beaded molds on beaded fruit. In the beginning, this process was very intentional for me. It was something that I was very actively thinking about, but after a while, it became automatic. And it will become automatic for you as well. If you intentionally move towards it, eventually you're doing it without really having to think about it, and it's happening, like you're perceiving exactly how you sort of should be. This is how you develop an aesthetic vocabulary. It's how you become plugged into yourself as a sensory being. It's how you bring a physical dimension to your ideas, and it's the beginning of voice. This is where voice comes from, or one of the places it comes from. Okay, part 4. Honor your wants, live with pleasure. One of the side effects of capitalism is that we become alienated from ourselves. Americans especially are very practiced in the art of denial and puritanism. Capitalism values the labor and capital it extracts from us. It has no interest in our comfort, our pleasure, or our inner lives. It wants us to be pliable, fungible, and easy and pleasant to consume. So right now, the fastest growing drugs in the country are GLP-1s used for weight loss, taken by 1 in 8 Americans right now. And they have noticed that there's 2 side effects that they can't quite account for with this drug, which is avolition and anhedonia. A lack of motivation and the ability to experience joy and pleasure. So it's just an article that I found about it, where this is like talking to people who've taken these medications, describing emotional dullness, feeling depressed, lack of enjoyment, just apathy, just having like kind of being desensitized to everything. Avolition and anhedonia are also symptoms of depression, and both are the opposite of this kind of play and openness that we want. It doesn't mean that endless dopamine hits are good for us, because that's also what keeps us scrolling and buying. And that's not what I'm talking about. But you owe yourself pleasure, you owe yourself leisure, you owe yourself to slow down. And you don't need my permission, but if you need it, I'm giving it to you. You already have it, but this is something that I know it seems like a small thing, but it's actually really, I think, made me who I am as a writer, because I've actually really been like so intentionally thinking about pleasure, like in my life, in my practice. You live in a time and a culture that does not encourage rest, joy, or creative practice. That's okay. It does not mean you're doomed. This is Hilda, who's an actual pinup model in the 50s, and I really love her. It just means you have to be intentional about how you are living your life. Be a woman. So that's how we remind ourselves how to play: reading, paying attention, living with curiosity, and living with pleasure. So now we're going to talk about how that play gets turned into ideas, which eventually becomes our body of work. Part 5, honor your ideas, write it down. Thoughts, ideas, and solutions can be ephemeral things. They light up for an instant. They emerge for a beat or two. Once you've had an idea, you must record it. If you don't record it, you will forget it. That's why these are words and not pictures, because this is like super important. And that is the worst. And if you don't believe me, just listen to David Lynch.
If a person forgets an idea that they love, it's a horror.
Carry a notebook around. Have an app on your phone that syncs to your computer. Use index cards and store them together. The system does not matter. I'm not advocating one over the other. I have my own, you'll have your own. Just pick a system and stick with it. Do not rely on your memory. Last night, in the hotel, as I was falling asleep, I had an idea and I was too tired to get up, and I was like, I'll remember it in the morning. Guess what? Gone. Who knows? No idea. It could have been the best idea I'll ever have, and it's just totally gone.
They're out there, millions and millions of ideas, and we don't know them until they enter the conscious mind. We fall in love with it for some reason. Something inside us says, this is a great idea for me. And then you write that idea down on a piece of paper in such a way that when you read what you wrote, the idea comes back in full. I think I've forgotten 3 incredible ideas in my life. So write down your ideas and save them, because it's very important.
Listen to David Lynch. If you don't believe me, he knew. So this way of working, writing things down and having it all in one place, has a very, very long historical precedent. It's sort of the meat of like the theme of the talk. So since antiquity, people have kept what they call commonplace books, a written repository of information, quotes, poems, anecdotes, drawings, lyrics, recipes, and ephemera. They're also called zibaldoni, which is Italian for a heap of things or miscellany. So there's like different names for them depending on where you are. These objects are singular. They are the trace of one mind only, and they are a record of thought long after the thinker is gone. And while the thinker is alive, they are an invaluable repository of your aesthetic attention and ideas. Leonardo da Vinci's are probably the most famous. He had notebooks like this. He had tons of them. It's some 13,000 pages of notes and drawings, and it was things like studies for artworks, designs for buildings and tactical machines, observations about the world around him, lists of groceries and his debtors. It was all in the same stuff. This is Walt Whitman's kind of low better high-res version of it. Walt Whitman had one. This one was Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland. Lovecraft also had one, which he periodically had typed up, though he also, this is what it looked like when it wasn't typed up. So, this is why he typed it, or had it typed for him. And it was also published. So you can actually find, this is actually just like a public domain, you can just download it online. There's like published hard versions of it too, but I just found the PDF online. So this is just all his ideas. This is kind of how my lists look. It's just like lists of like unconnected ideas kind of all in a row. And some of these are stories that he ended up writing, and a lot of them don't have stories at all, but that's the point, right? The list just kind of holds all of it. And there are modern examples. So like Drake Garner, who's the critic at the New York Times, he published one of his in 2020. So this is like stuff that he, like records that he's kept and like quotes and things that he's written that he wanted to write down. The great thing about commonplace books is that they're easier than diaries or journals, and they're probably even more important for like keeping track of one's aesthetic. And I don't know about you, I'm like kind of a wannabe journaler. I've never really managed to do it. I have a lot of journals. Who here is has a journals that have like 1 or 2 entries and then the rest of it is blank? And you're familiar with them? Yeah. Okay. So we're the same. Yeah. But I have tons of these. So this is different. It's sort of, because I'm also not reading about myself, and I'm not writing about my day or whatever. It's I'm thinking about what is actually aesthetically sort of drawing me, and it feels much easier for some reason. So there are other few examples from history that are worth talking about. So there's the Florigium, from Latin for flower, close, and legere, together. So initially they were actually compilations of writings of others, kind of anthologies, that a lot of Christian thought was sort of put in this structure. And then later it was sort of more literal. It was literally collections of illustrations and writing on flora plants, as distinct from botanical guides, things used for medicine. Then there's the Wunderkammer, or the cabinets of curiosity. Cabinet actually meaning room in this case, not a cabinet like the furniture. So they were rooms filled with collected objects that fell under 4 categories. Naturalia, which was natural objects, and also they loved deformed animal specimens. That was a really common thing that people collected. Artificialia, I don't actually know how to say that. So human-made works like antiques and works of art. Exotica, exotic objects, plants, or animals collected from distant places, is relative to the Wunderkammer owner. And Scientifica, which was things like astrolabes, clocks, automatons. It's just sciencey stuff, essentially. And it's just another example. So what does this mean? So like the commonplace book, the note-taking is a record of your mind, your perception, your experiences. You can keep records about what you observe, what you read, and what you think. This is Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who was an early feminist thinker. Like the Wunderkammer, your note-taking can draw from the natural world or the human world. It can be interested in the minutiae and the extraordinary. It can be drawn from your life or others. And it can be the result or first step of knowledge seeking. Like the Florigium, your note-taking can be a way of capturing beauty and the ephemeral. So you fighting back death, basically, which is pretty cool. And all of this originates from you.
And that idea that you caught might just be a fragment of the whole, whatever it is you're working on, but now you have even more bait. Thinking about that small fragment, that little fish, will bring in more, and they'll come in and they'll hook on, and more come in, and pretty soon you might have a script or a chair or a painting or an idea for a painting. But they come as, more often than not, small fragments. I like to think of it as, in the other room, the puzzle is all together, but they keep flipping in just one piece at a time. In the other room, over there. In a sense, David, there's always another room somewhere. That's a beautiful thing to think about. Let's think about it a bit. No, you think about it.
The other room. Both rooms are yours. But you just gotta get those pieces and put them together. Okay, part 6, honor your mind, make lists. So in 2010, I encountered an essay by the author. Who here knows Kelly Lang's work? Okay, if you don't, you should read her. She's amazing. But I encountered an essay by her that totally transformed my relationship with idea and record keeping. And I read it right before I went to grad school, so it was very influential on me. So in this essay, Link is talking about Kate Wilhelm, who's a science fiction writer who started the Clarion Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Workshop, which is a 6-week fantasy, science fiction and fantasy kind of boot camp that happens and still goes on. And Wilhelm talks about her silent partner, her SP, which is her language for her conscious mind and her unconscious mind sort of intersecting with each other. Your SP, she says, is constantly supplying you with all sorts of ideas, good ideas, bad ideas, weird ideas. Wilhelm says that you have to give positive reinforcement to those ideas, no matter how silly. She literally says, thank you, SP, for that totally bizarre idea that you just gave me. And as you do this, your subconscious is constantly refining its idea supplying process. In other words, you treat this very seriously, because this is what you want, right? Is eventually this becomes an automatic process. So she says, your SP will begin to produce more and more ideas of these fruitful and generative kind as you begin to recognize the kinds of ideas that are going to turn into the kinds of stories you most want to write. Your subconscious gets even better at fine-tuning the kinds of things it provides, as well as faster at getting you useful material. And I will say that, again, I read this long before I was a published author, and I found this to be so accurate. It's actually kind of spooky. I mean, I can't speak for other writers, but I feel like this is actually literally, and I feel like now it's so automatic and everything just comes in a flood. I mean, it's really wild. So then Link shows us a list she made of things that she enjoys when she encounters them in other narratives. And they can be thematic, character-driven, very general, or very specific. So this is her list. So I'll give you more on the list. I really love this list. And this is her list. This is like her personal list. So every once in a while, Link says, I revisit this list to see if there's something on it that generates an idea. I add things as they occur. It's a bit like window shopping. You can make lists of your obsessions, narrative interests, and fears. It becomes something you can shop from or choose from, like a menu, but it's one that you created. I've also found this to be quite useful in my own work. When I'm feeling stuck, I don't know where I'm going, I can literally open up my lists and be like, what did I think about 5 years ago that actually could serve me right now? And I'd say it works about a solid like 90 to 95% of the time. Okay, part 7, honor your intuition, combine and play. So once you have your lists, your Wunderkammers, your Phrygium, you are ready to play. First, you scan your lists, wander about your room of curiosities. What do you have? What's available to you? You will have the curious experience, sort of like when you start paying attention or you continue to pay attention more intensely, of being flooded with sensation, emotion, and memory as you encounter your collection. You also might encounter something you have no memory of thinking or writing. This happens to me all the time. I'm like, wow, Carmen in 2012 had a great idea that I have no memory of having. So thank goodness I have my list. Your brain can only hold on to so much. We talked about this today in the class we did today, right? Your brain, eventually it's like, there's no space, I gotta send stuff away. But if you have it written down, then you still have it. You also might find that certain ideas call to each other. Even if the ideas come from completely different places, they can resonate on the same frequency. Maybe they're set in the same kind of place, or it's the same character. It's like multiple things the same character might do. Or maybe a phrase you've recorded seems like the title of a story of another idea that you've written down. Which brings us back to the mysteries of Harris Burdick. The reason this book works is triangulation. Your brain sees the title, the sentence, and the image, and your brain is able to make a story in between those things. Even if it's hard to articulate, your brain is automatically sort of doing the work of creating the story. Here is a real example from my own practice. This is called The Irritating Gentleman. I love this painting. It's very funny. When I was just out of college, I got into a conversation with my aunt at a family get-together. She was an OBGYN nurse. She mentioned offhandedly that a husband had recently asked the doctor for a husband stitch after his wife gave birth. I asked her what the husband stitch was, and she told me. And I was like, wow, that's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And I wrote it down. Years later, I was sitting around at a party with some writer friends and talking about the scary stories to tell in the dark books. Because we were all writers and all freaks and weirdos. We all read these books as a kid. Who here has read the scary stories to tell in the dark? A lot of you. Yeah, they are amazing. So the rest of the night, we just sat there and drank and went in a circle and told each other the stories that scared us the most when we were kids. And everybody had a different answer. Everybody had a different story that really impacted them. Mine was, when I walked home that night, a little tipsy, I thought about the Green Ribbon urban legend, and I wondered if it had ever been adapted in like a story. And then a few blocks from my home, I witnessed the aftermath of a car accident. I went home and wrote down, these two things. Also during graduate school, I found myself wanting to read about, and by extension write about, a mid-century housewife who loves sex more than anything. It's just like an idea that came to me. So a few years later, when I was sitting in a cabin in New Hampshire trying to write, I found myself scanning these documents. I saw Husband Stitch. I saw Green Ribbon Urban Legend Adapt. And I saw a mid-century housewife who loves sex. And I knew instantly how they came together. And the rest is history. And then last year, I wrote a poem, different in every way than my story, The Husband Stitch, where the image of the car accident found its home. Same night, different detail, different medium. It isn't always this easy, but it's not magic. This is like practice. This is really a thing that you begin to do automatically. You have already written a dozen novels, 100 stories, 1,000 poems, all scattered across time. All you have to do is gather the pieces, one observation at a time. And eventually the thing will be there. Okay. Part 8, honor your humanity, persist and take risks. So in college, I had this photography professor named, I actually studied photography. I did not study English or writing in college. I studied photography. A professor named Ewan. This is not Ewan, this is Dan Arbus, but I didn't want to put a picture of him randomly in my PowerPoint without asking him, and I didn't have time. So he was this very tiny, beautiful man who'd been a model before he became a photographer in Indonesia, where he's from. He was always dropping little nuggets of wisdom while we were in the dark room. And one time I asked him how many rolls of film he had burned through before he was a good photographer. What do you guys think he said? Does anyone have any idea? Yeah.
Something along the lines of, I'm still not a good photographer.
Oh, no, that's a great answer, but no, he did. He's a good photographer. He was good. He's a teacher, you know. Anyone, any ideas?
27.
None.
10.
Yeah. 1,000. We're talking about rolls of film because this is in 2004. So digital is, I mean, it exists, but it's still 1,000. 1,000. Another time during Crit, he observed that a photo I was presenting would have been better if I had taken it from the ground. And I was like, Ewan, I was in a crowd of people in public. It would have been really weird to like lay down on the ground and take a photo. Carmen, he said, and my name's so good, he always rolled the R. I love how he said my name. It is worth a moment of embarrassment to get the right shot. And that's it. So what time is it? 5:50. Okay, so we got like 20-ish minutes of questions. Does that sound right?
Sure.
Great.
But first, I think some round of applause here. Thank you so much. Wow. And Carmen is open for questions. And
Yes,
do you want to
please.
just
Yeah.
call?
So
Okay.
you just raise your hand and I'll call on you. And yeah, I'm happy to answer questions about anything.
I can.
Yes.
Well,
Oh.
okay. No.
Please. Yes, go ahead.
You said you just got 2 dogs. Is that the first dogs or have you been
I had
along?
dogs. No, I've had dogs before, but my partner's first dog was an adult. So it's been actually really beautiful to see.
Same.
her,
My
like-
wife just got her first dog.
Yeah.
After I had to go not no dogs for so long.
She keeps saying, I forgot about dogs. And I'm like, I know they're music, right? Yes.
I just, first, thank you so much. It was so rich and sensitive what you've offered us. I guess I have a question, since this is your very first PowerPoint. And my question is about images and your relation to images, and maybe even specifically to art history, because there were so many art historical references here.
Yeah, well, the things that the first version of the PowerPoint I wrote had very little imagery and a lot of words. My partner was like, Carmen, it's a visual medium. You can't just have words on the screen. That doesn't make any sense. You can have images on the screen and speak words. And I was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. So I was okay, I gotta really think about like what images I'm using. I took like AP art history. I like art history. It's sort of like I mean, not an area of expertise, but just an interest of mine. And I also save a lot of images in sort of the service of this also project of like writing things down and having lists. I keep a lot of like image banks, mood boards. Like if I see an image that I like, I save it because so some of those images are like like that painting of Doubting Thomas, I saw when I was like in high school. My dad also loved art history. He had those Sister Wendy books. You guys know Sister Wendy? Yeah. The nun, yeah, Sister Wendy, you love her. So she's like a nun who like loves art history, and she publishes all these books. She's really cool. And she published, it was like one of her favorite paintings. And I remember just like the image of like his fingers like in Christ's side was just so like visceral, and I guess kind of hot, even though I didn't realize what it was. But I was like, oh, I really like this painting for some reason. And so I feel like again, when I was like in an early way, in which I was like, I'm drawn to this for reasons I don't understand, which I think again is like has become part of my practice and is like so essential, is like being like, I'm either drawn to this or repulsed by it, like something is really sending me away. Like, what does that mean? So I think sometimes it's easy to be like, well, I don't like it, so goodbye, and that's kind of the end of it. But like that's information that your brain is giving, your subconscious is giving you information. So yeah, so I just was like really interested. So I just have a lot of images saved, and like back in the Tumblr days, I wasn't good at Tumblr, but I had a Tumblr only for this purpose. Like I would just be like reblogging for myself pictures, images that I found that spoke to me for some reason. So yeah, so this is like a thing I do. I literally have like, I was looking through like my pictures folder on my computer, and I had like lolcat memes, which really dates me, but that I saved like when I was like in high school and college. So like that's how long that like archive has existed.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so I feel like it's just, yeah, it's like a thing. And I also just feel like it's like funny because my work is so, I mean, I'm writing, like I don't like draw, I'm not working with imagery in that sort of direct way, but I do feel like it is like actually, because of the photography background, it's just like a part of my sort of way of thinking. Yes.
Hi, thank you so much, first of all. Second, Ed, for your presentation, and for being here. I was really interested in the concept of the other room. I was wondering if you could speak, and now that you just spoke on imagery, I'm thinking of the other room being a place of words, but also images, potentially. And I was wondering if you could talk about the bicamerality of that reality of having another room, and more specifically, if you could talk about like potentially conquering the fear of there being another room.
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so conquering the fear of the other room, thinking about ourselves as having these like two rooms. I also found that very potent. David Lynch, I will say also, if you're ever looking for like a way of like juicing yourself up creatively, look up videos of interviews with David Lynch on YouTube. He's incredible. He speaks so beautifully and eloquently about ideas. So I just highly recommend it in general. I always find it very inspiring. I mean, I think for me, what's funny is like the way that we talk about, because like I mentioned like the silent partner language that like Kate Wilhelm uses, that Kelly like mentioned in her essay. People call it different things, and like, you know, it can be like your subconscious. If you're spiritual, there might be like a spiritual dimension to it, like there's some kind of entity or something. And actually, and this is a crazy sentence to say, but there's a great TED Talk by Elizabeth Gilbert from like 15 years ago that is quite insightful, where she talks about the transition from when people say that the word genius, it was like a spirit, like someone had a genius. It's like you're just like a mortal being, and a spirit for whatever reason chooses you as its vessel and like moves through you just for a moment, and like you encounter like that thing, right? Like, and she talks about how like the phrase ole comes from people saying Allah, like as like there's like God is here, like there's something happening that's like incredible, like it's like we're having a beautiful moment and like God is here. And I'm not a religious person, but that really spoke to me, something about this idea that like it kind of takes the pressure off, where it's like, it's not about you being a genius. And now we say someone is a genius, right? And it's very internal. It's very like American, very, it's very like, it's just you, like there's no collective. It's just sort of this like individual self, very individualized. But if you think about it a little more broadly, it's like you are actually interacting with like something. And what that thing is, I think, depends on who you are. So maybe it's like, yeah, an entity, the other room, your subconscious, your silent partner. There's all kinds of language for it. And again, like I'm not a religious person, but I actually do find like a lot of energy in that way of thinking about it, even if it's just like this thing underneath my perception that I cannot possibly know or access in full in any way, and I never will be able to, but I'm training myself to like, I guess, look in the other room or like jiggle the handle or like get the puzzle pieces out or like whatever kind of language you want to put to it. But it is actually kind of scary. I think it's also there's this idea that like we know ourselves. I think it's like the more I get to know myself, the more I know how much I don't know myself. Like there's just this endless, there's something underneath that like I can't actually see. And it's kind of scary and kind of beautiful at the same time. So yeah, I don't know if that like answers the question, but yeah, it is like terrifying to imagine there's like things like there's something in you that's like giving you something. Like, and also like I have OCD. I got diagnosed with OCD last year. I mean, I've had it my whole life, but I got diagnosed last year. And you know, a lot of it's like intrusive thoughts. And when I was younger, it was extremely distressing to me to just be like having images and thoughts going into my brain that I could not control that were like awful to me or like very terrifying. And trying to find like language or like how do we think about like the mind. So like it doesn't even enter my mind that I didn't bring there and I don't like it and it's like there is like very scary. But again, I think that like, I mean, I also am like heavily medicated and it's great. It really helps the OCD, but like, I think that actually like also coming to peace with this idea that like there is actually this thing that I can't know, but like I can think of it as like more neutrally than like not like be afraid of it, where it's like, you know, it might give me images that like do something to make me feel weird or like it might give, but it's like, if I think of it as like my work is like a repository for all of this unknown, it actually makes me feel very like I can actually contain it in this way. And I find that very inspiring, honestly. I think it really like has helped me sort of reconfigure. And also it's like, I was so religious when I was younger and I'm not anymore. And I think that like that language I was using as a younger person was actually the language I'm talking about with like the creative process. But I was like, God, like I had like certain ideas about faith. And I think really what it was, I was like sort of identifying like this thing. And yeah, it's scary. It's scary to have something unknown, but like you have to also be uncomfortable with like that unknowing. And also like I have sentences enter my head, I don't know where they come from, fully formed, like where it's like, again, Elizabeth Gilbert does talk about this. She talked about this poet who said that she felt a poem pass her and she chased it and she caught it and she pulled it back in and the whole poem came out perfectly but backwards because she's like pulling it into herself. And like, I'm like, I just got goosebumps saying that. Like it's so, oh my gosh, it's so intense. But like, yeah, so it's like, and so the things come to my head fully formed and I'm like, I don't know where that came from. Sometimes it is like, oh yeah, I had an idea or I remembered something from my childhood or I saw something that gave me an idea. But also sometimes it's just like, I don't know where that came from. There's like images, there's a scene in The Resident, which is from my first book, where she's having this like, she's like, it's hard to explain. She's like talking, and the scene does not make any sense. And my editor was like, what is going on here? And I was like, I don't know, but when I was working on this story, I was at a residency, I was walking through the woods, and this thing was reciting to me, and I had to put it in because I just felt like it was there, and I didn't want to. So like it's hard to explain what it is exactly, but it feels correct, and so I just want to leave it in. And he was like, okay, great. He was a great editor. He was like, yeah, he trusted me. So he was like, yeah, if you feel like if you're vibing on it, like great, fantastic. And so yeah, so I feel like that is like just come. And again, it's become automatic, but also like it wasn't always like that. Like I feel like I was really struggling with like that stuff in the beginning, but eventually it sort of, I think, found its place. Thanks. Yes.
What authors excite you?
Oh my God.
I know that's a hard question.
I mean,
What authors do you like?
sure. I mean, the writers that like I think of as sort of like cracked me open, like when I was in grad school, when I was trying to kind of figure out like what I wanted to write about and how. Kelly Link, which I mentioned, she was like honestly the biggest one. I quote her first, I tattooed on my arm. I really love her. And she writes, I think in this way that's very like joyous and very like unboundaried. Like she just is like pulling in genres left, right, and center. She's like moving through story in this like really intuitive way that I find incredibly inspiring. And I think her work is like singular. It's like really incredible. I mean, I think she's very special. Shirley Jackson's another writer who I love and identify with very strongly. And I think that like Haunting Hill House is like a perfect novel, which is hard to do, but I think it's a perfect book. Helena Oyeyemi is another writer who I really loved, and I feel like is dealing with like myth and fairy tales in this way that I find like fascinating. Karen Russell, I love her work. Her work was also very inspiring to me. I really love George Saunders. I mean, I know these are all like, but like George Saunders like was another person I read when I was in grad school, when I was like, I didn't know you could do this. Like when I think I didn't know you could do this, that's how I know that I'm like in the territory I want to be in, because I'm like, this person is like reconfiguring my sense of like how the genre functions or like how story works or whatever. A writer that's more contemporary that I love is Julia Elliott, who wrote, her new book is called Hellions, but she has a book called, what's her book from Tin House?
Romney Fitch, that's the one?
That's a novel. There's a collection before that.
I don't remember.
Anyway, Tin House puts her books out. There are also these like very like genre mashy, really exuberant, like Southern Gothic short stories that I find just like really exciting. I can sort of do this all day. But I also will say that like, I also go through periods where I'm reading certain eras. Like I'm like, so I actually went on a bit with mid-century, with like female authors of the mid-century kick a few years ago. And like, there's just so much sort of exciting stuff. Nancy Hale is one who I really love. And there's a book of hers. She was actually the most published female author in the New Yorker in like the 20th century. And like, no one's ever heard of her. She just sort of fell out of, like, people don't really talk about her work, but the Library of America put out a collection of hers a couple of years ago, and it's beautiful. And the first story is called The Earliest Dreams, and it's really like a girl in bed or a child in bed, and the parents are having a party downstairs, and she's just like, she doesn't move, she's like in the bed the whole time, and she's just like thinking about like outside, and she hears the sound of the adults, and it's gorgeous. And like she never moves, she's just like in this bed the whole time. So yeah, she's really great. I mean, so yeah, it's fun to also kind of be like, oh, what's going on? Or like thinking like, oh, I want to read working translation, like what's happening like over here. Like I feel like that is also always a really good, a good way to sort of direct your reading. Yes.
You spoke about attraction and rejection and paying attention to that when it hits, and I was curious, is like, what is something recently that, like, I also think sometimes like both can be true of the same
Sure,
thing.
of course. Oh
And
yeah.
I was wondering if you had something recently that struck you like that both sort of attracted and rejected you.
Oh, that's so interesting. You know, it's so funny. I just made my partner, we tried to watch Hellraiser, which is one of my favorite horror movies. Seen Hellraiser? Okay, it's one of my favorites. She couldn't do it. We got like 45 minutes in and she was like, I love you, but I cannot finish this movie. I really hate it. And I was like, that's fine. You're allowed. That's fine. And I feel like that movie is, what I love about that movie is like the way it actually is like literally about like pain and pleasure are like interchangeable. And this is like the place, like the people who like open the box and bring in the demons are like seeking this like place where those things are like sort of combined. I feel like a thing that I had this experience, it was 2 years ago now. I taught at Clarion, and I'm pretty unflappable as a reader. Like I teach a lot. I've read almost everything you can possibly imagine. And I had the experience of a student handing in a story that really bothered me. Not the story itself, but it was about this sort of, it was like a romance. There's like this mad scientist who basically puts mad cow disease in everything. So like basically there's like an epidemic coming, but nobody knows it except for her. And I was literally like crawling out of my skin reading the story. It was like purely visceral. I was like, and it was so, I have like contamination stuff, like in like illness and disease, but I write a lot about illness because I'm both like interested in it, and it's sort of the liminality of illness and the way it sort of functions in the body and the physicality of it. And also I have like severe hypochondria and like have very intense like reactions to like medical stuff. But I also like watch medical stuff. Like so there's like something about that. It's like the sort of the liminality of the body. I don't know, like the abjection, like sort of, there's just something about like the way that functions that like I find both very interesting, and also like, this is when I had to open the class being like, we're talking about the story. I was like, I don't think I've ever had this reaction to a student story before, where I actually felt like it was hard to like sit still. And it was so interesting because I was like, I'm just saying it so it's in the room, like, and it's not about the story or the quality of the story or the student. It's just about like something about this plot is like really making me feel, I'm just talking about it now, I can like feel my body kind of like twitching, like it's just so intense. So yeah, so I feel like that's like a good example. But it's like everything that I'm repulsed to, I think that for me it's like I'm always repulsed and attracted at the same time, honestly. When I'm repulsed in a way that I'm not interested, it's because I'm bored. But if I'm actually activated in some way, I'm always like, what does this mean? This is so interesting. And it's like crazy when it happens and I don't know why. And I'll literally be sitting there like, I'm like uncomfortable and I literally don't know why. I literally can't even explain it. Or I really like this and I don't know why. Yeah. Yes.
I have a really low stakes two-parter.
Amazing, incredible.
Which is where do you stand on Nightbreed as a Hellraiser fan? And then
Wait, remind me. Wait, Nightbreed?
Nightbreed. It's Clive Barker's 1990 like Monster City.
I've never seen it.
Cronenberg plays like my favorite character.
Okay, well I know what I'm doing. I get to watch
Yeah.
Hotel tonight.
While we're on the subject of Clive Barker movies.
Sure, I do love him. Yeah.
But my follow-up was where in like Lynch's art do you resonate?
So the film of Lynch's, I love David Lynch. I was really devastated. I feel like his death. It's rare that I have like a strong reaction to like the death of like a person I don't know, that I did to his death. I found it was really dead. He lived a long life. He made so many good things, and like it's really wonderful how much we had of him, and also like I wish we'd had more, But I think the film of his the first one of his that I saw was Mulholland Drive. I saw it. I was a very like I said, a very religious teenager. I was very like sort of prudish and like closed down. And I had this really good friend who worked at AMC, and she would always bring the day-old popcorn home in garbage bags because you could do that. And I would go to her house and watch movies I was not allowed to see at home. And so I saw like a bunch of movies, like I saw like Dancer in the Dark, Large Dark Trigger, which like fucked me up really bad. He's one who I like am attracted or repulsed by his movies, and I'm always like on that edge. But some of them I really love, some of them I really hate, and then I sort of am always kind of like in this strange place. But one of the movies we watched was Mulholland Drive, and I remember being so I didn't understand what was going on the whole time. Like I was like, what is happening in this movie? But I loved it. And if you'd asked me after it was finished, like what it was about, I would have been like, I don't fucking know. It's hard to explain like what it was about. And I was so young and so early in that process of not having like language for like, what this movie was like really sort of activating me. But I remember just sitting in her basement and just like eating that popcorn, a big old garbage bag of popcorn, and watching Mulholland Drive and just sort of like feeling like it was in a dream. The scene that really did it, the scene that really like I felt like I was falling, was the Silencio, like the scene in the theater. And like when she's, no I Banda. So yeah, so that's probably like I think that's my favorite David Lynch movie. And it's funny, I shared with my partner after he died. I was like, I really want to watch Mulholland Drive. And I had the DVD, like the old ass DVD, and we watched it. And it was ended and she was like, I was like, what do you think? She was like, I don't know what happened, but I was not bored. And I was like, see, amazing, right? Like it's hard to explain like what that movie was about, but she's like, that was incredible. I was like riveted. Every scene I was riveted. So yeah, I think Mulholland Drive. What about you?
I'm like a Lost Highway and Rabbits fan.
Yeah. Lost Highway's great. David Lynch.
I think this is our last question.
Great, fantastic. Yes, right there. Yeah.
Pressure.
No pressure.
This might come across like half formulated, but when I'm reading your work, I feel like I was talking to my mom about it, and I feel like it really sums up like the queer woman experience. And I feel like when I read it, there's all these like emotions and memories and sensations that kind of feel like dormant that become activated almost. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, when you write about these like memories and feelings and kind of like traumas and things like that, do you find catharsis when you're writing, or do you kind of like get lost? I know you talked about like grounding yourself in your body, and I was just wondering about like your practice of that for writing.
So in my experience, fiction, I feel like whatever tools I'm using, I feel like I can sort of hold when I am writing about and I'm always writing something autobiographical, even if it's like very concealed and like many layers. I'm essentially always writing about myself. It's funny, I did an event with, oh my God, was it from the Dune Squad? Jennifer Egan.
Mhm.
And we were being like interviewed by the library. We were doing the event at, and they asked us like, why do you write? Like, why do you write? And I was like, she was like, oh, to get away from myself. And I was like, oh, I write to get closer to myself. And it was so interesting because I was like, we have totally different ways of conceiving of like what it means to be writing. I'm always moving towards myself, or that's what I'm trying to do. Because I'm like, I need to like understand this flesh person better, like what's going on, and this weird mind. And so I feel like with fiction, even when I'm writing about something kind of intense, something about the way that I'm sort of containing it makes it feel fairly manageable. So like I find that writing fiction, even when it's very intense, it's not like difficult in like an emotional way. However, my memoir was very hard to write, and I did not take care of myself in any significant way. Did not watch out for mental health. I was not in therapy. I like went into the woods. Like it was like not good. It was like I was very cavalier about what I was doing in a way that I can tell you, do not do it. Like, do not do that. It's not cool or cowboy. It is a bad idea, because I was really struggling, and I found myself like entering into these spaces that like I couldn't get out of. And it was like going on for like a long time. And I was really like getting mired in these like holes of like thought in a way that like I never had happened with fiction ever, even fiction about the most intense subject. And so I don't know if it was just like nonfiction, like even nonfiction that has this sort of playful sort of speculative element, like just the fact of it being nonfiction, and there were parts where I was like, I have to write down like what happened. I have to say the good stuff and the bad stuff, and I have to just like put it down. It was just like so difficult. So that was much harder. I don't really know how else to like, yeah. So like, so it depends. But it's sort of why I'm like very cautious about nonfiction, actually. Like I was saying for a while, I'm never gonna do it again. I don't think I'm gonna write a memoir again. I mean, but who knows? But I have like essays that I wanna write. So like, it's not like I'm totally gone from nonfiction, but I think that like, I decided with that book, I thought I was ready and I wasn't ready. And like when you're writing anything, but nonfiction especially, I think it's always important to be like, actually try to be really honest with yourself about like, is this the moment to be writing this thing? Like, am I the right writer right now to sort of be accessing this memory or this piece of myself? And you might not be, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like, that's just, you're just not ready. And I think that I was not being very honest with myself about that. And so fiction, it actually doesn't feel that way, but with nonfiction, it was really hard. So for some reason, fiction has like a protective sheath that it gives me. I don't know why. Like a distance, I guess, or like it's like I'm like far enough away from it. So, thanks for the question. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a reception in D206, so definitely drink. Yay. Thank you so much.
It is a night read. I want to say it's based on Cabal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love him. My favorite story of his is In the Hills Facilities, which is like, I'm obsessed with him. I really love him. I'm gonna check that out. Yeah.
Did you see Book of Blood?
You know, no, I love Book of Blood. Like I've read Book of Blood many times, and I cannot. I don't know. I feel like I keep trying to like watch. Like I tried to watch there was that show they made based on American Monsters by Nathan Ballingrud, and it was fucking terrible.
That was weird.
It was really, and I love that book, and I knew I needed that show. I was like, this is garbage. So like, yeah, I don't. Did you think? Well, yeah, how was it?
No, I'm also a big Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
I also was joining Halloween.
Yeah.
No. Those photos of me at 6 are not.
Bad.
But actually, I got really directed.
Oh, so what did you think?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Very interesting that it's a Star Trek writer made a.
I mean, yeah, I'm Next Generation girly. I don't really fuck with any other Star Trek. I just really like Next Generation and I watch it like very frequently. Like I find it very soothing. They're like little plays.
The Wild.
The Wilds, yes. I was like, I think that first book. Have you read Hellions? Oh yeah. Oh, no. I did. Yeah. Oh, she's so
Do you know where the?
I do not. Let me pack up my stuff.
You good?
That's an interesting question.
All right.
Yeah.
It may take longer to answer.
Yeah. How are you, Brian? How was break?
It's good.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad it's continuing.
Yeah.
And think how much you can mine from just the worst thing.
Are you converted now to?
It's worse every time.
Yeah, though when I realized that I had
No,
to
no
mess up
part
the
of
order
it's
of the
good.
slides, I was like, oh my god.
That is money or time.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Are you guys still friends?
Oh,
yes.
And was sort of, or still is, it's no longer just director of writing, but director of writing is a part of a larger whole
Very
role,
cool.
but also
I just do
committed
it, yeah.
devoted
Teaching,
to writing,
Got you.
teaching, theory,
Amazing.
the whole situation.
Fantastic.
Great.
Okay,
You feel
so
good?
I'm good. I got my bag.
Anything?
No, I think I have everything.
And so, do you have to, would you, well, you know where it is, but you want to walk Carmen over there? Yes, I get some food. I'm like,
Yes, absolutely.
the equipment comes back and.
That was so
Well, do you mind, I feel like I'm gonna come say hello, but then I'm gonna leave.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I know that Carmen is able to get a car back to Oregon. Or you can actually come on back and be another thing, whatever she wants. Do you feel comfortable with that?
I don't mind. You can
I
tell
believe it
her.
or not, I have a grant tomorrow.
Wow.
It's my